So what I'd like to say here is I had a very direct experience of this, and it happened when I was in Colorado in 2020, I mean 2021. I don't know. It was a COVID vacation where my family and I went on an RV to Colorado.
Oh yeah.
And there we went to Leadville. It's the highest city in the country, 10,000 feet. I ran there, 5 miles there, 5 miles back.
And smoked weed.
And I bought, it was the first time in 15 years, 10 years. Not only did I smoke weed, but I wasn't at all, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I ate an entire really powerful gummy and then started to run. And then when I got to where I was going, I smoked a bunch of weed. And oh my God, I thought I was going to die.
Some kind of gateway thing there. Yeah.
It was a gateway. And it was true hell. I mean, it was Doug descending into hell, that archetype. You know, Jesus was crucified, descends into hell, and then ascends, and then resurrects, and then ascends into heaven. It's the 4-part archetype there. And descending into hell is to descend into the most disintegrated parts of self, you know?
Oh yeah.
Where we call it the shadow self, but really it's a bad term because shadow is not what Shadow can mean the mysterious parts of ourselves that we haven't discovered yet, that remain to be potentiated and activated. Or shadow can mean parts of ourselves this lifetime or past lifetimes where we have repressed. And because we repress and cease to acknowledge them, they hold a power that ends up forming much of our worldview of moments in our conscious, the immediacy of our daily lives as it unfolds moment by moment. If something triggers us into deep insecurity or shame washing, that wash of shame, fear, whatever, then it is framed. All of that is framed by these disintegrated parts of ourselves. And they are fractals. They're, of course, contained inside of the unity of our psyche, but are disintegrated. And the way to integrate them is to encounter them fearlessly through the fear. So you don't do it with like a big fucking dick saying, bring it on, baby. That's warrior power. And that exacerbates bellicosity, which entraps you all the more.
It just empowers the negativity that you're already experiencing. It doubles it.
That's right. It doubles it. And then the law of doubling.
Whoa. Hold on 1 second. My cat is like frozen crazy. Okay, we're good.
By the way, I've changed that term. Instead of the law of doubling in my book, or the law of squares, I'm changing it to the law of strength intensification. Because I think it really goes
intensification.
Yep.
That's good. I like that.
It goes well with all the other stuff. But anyways.
Light strength, dark strength. Yeah, that's good.
Well, and Rod talks about the unbiased or the undistorted rhythm of being itself is a strength. And they call intelligent energy the primal logos. There's a part of the primal logos that is undistorted, and it is a strength, pure strength. And so it's not yet activated. It has to be activated, but I digress. Never mind.
Okay, hold that thought 1 second, Doug. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Jesse just popped out into the driveway to say hello, and I let him know that we were talking and that I was going to share some insights with him later.
All right. Let me finish then on that. I'm sorry for
Yeah,
digressing, but
no, you're good. Light strength, dark strength. So, okay, sorry.
so anyways, the
Can
point
you?
is
Yeah.
that here's my personal experience. That point in my life, I was at the tail end of the darkest period of my life. 7 years from 2013 to 2020 was the great split where I delved into the law of one material, but had to keep secret. You know the reason why with all that was going on in
Yeah,
my life, and
I do.
you know you were there. I mean, you saw the pain that I dealt with. We met in 2016 or 15, so you were there
Yep.
through all of that,
Yep.
the tears and the fear and all that. But anyways, so I had that as really energizing down there. I mean, it was a hot pit in the depths of me, and my experience was this: as I got more and more high, you know, because having done it and then it hits you. For the next 3 hours, I was launched into all I can describe it as complete and total existential despair. And I just kept hearing and seeing and feeling the energies of despair ye all hope, for there is none. The whole of you is always been false and a lie. You are nothing. Everything you believe in is nothing. And it was this, all of the ways that I've had to hold down my full sharing to my wife, and all of this was being exacerbated by the experience and shoved back into my face as proof that I am a piece of shit. And then I would see my kids, you know, faces one by one as if they ever learned just how phony I was. Like the imposter syndrome kicked up to a degree that I've never experienced before since. And I was trembling, I was writhing physically because of the sheer terror. I have never been that kind of terror. And here's what happened though. The more and more the beings that I saw twisted, malformed, grotesque,
Do you see a lot of
screaming,
viscera?
viscera,
Yeah.
chakra, lower chakra colors, smoke, volcanic orange, fire, and blackness. But the blackness wasn't a void, it was malice. It was blackness inverted from void to malice instead of void to love. I guess you could call it dark light. But point,
Dark light.
the point I'm saying here is because I have done up to that point in my life enough inner work and therapy, that I learned there was one point in there in the doldrums of hell of my inner psyche where all I wanted to do was, I mean, I was seriously thinking like it would be better for my family before they found out I was this way, a liar, a cheat, a phony, to kill myself. Like I'm doing them a favor. Like that's where I was at. And then from that point, it dawned on me, some sort of nudge said, treat this feeling as you would kind of like cognitive behavioral work, you know? Treat these thoughts and feelings as you would something that you have created, and you're making the mistake that they're creating you. And in that moment, I developed a defense mechanism that realized I'd always had, but just now I had to act at it at the most deepest, incredibly deepest part of me ever. And that was every time I would feel the absolute pain, viscera inside of me and see images,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, and you belong, and you belong.
And you belong.
And and I want you to see in your mind's eye, I'm going at about 100 miles an hour over a volcanic crater, almost like the Rio Grande, but it's volcano. And I'm going through and I'm seeing all these demons pulling me down, and I'm going down, and it just gets worse. And as I'm going forward in this journey, I'm saying, and you belong, and you belong. And I understand. And as I did that,
and I understand.
I understand. I understand. You belong, and you're a part of me. And what happened is as I
a part of you at the deepest level, at the unconscious third density psyche, at the level of higher self, at the level of being the creator.
I mean, I was the agency saying, you all belong. You belong. Your right to exist is true.
And so when you say you were a part of me, what was the message you were sending from self to self? What's the me here?
They're my creations.
Okay. They're the creations of your own unconscious
parts of
third density mind.
Splintering that I have done through past lifetimes and this lifetime.
Okay.
That have always been in charge of my deepest triggering and wakefulness. And even if there were, I know that there were negative entities that were external to me in there, but they also belong, since I am the creator. And so I say, you belong, you belong. And what happened is that the experience of that was different qualitatively than previously, before I was starting to say that, because I was still feeling the dings and slings and pain of the arrows of shame and guilt and despair. But the difference is that they weren't mounting one on top of the other, because I could cut the cords with you belong. So I wasn't having to, I was free to not have to entertain the logical extremities of following a line of thought into the absolute pits. I was going to say pits of despair, like Princess Bride, but anyways.
I wouldn't have gotten the reference. It's been a long time.
Yeah. But then what happened and this was the ultimate shift. This was the ultimate shift. As I'm flying down there, I say, not only do I have agency over myself, and not only can I see efficaciously my intention has power down here to detach whatever. The arrows hurt, but they don't kill, they don't maim, they bounce off, even if I feel the dings. But I that awakened me to the greater truth, of which what had been completely covered up, which is I have agency, because that's ultimately.
Which was, you have what?
Agency.
Oh, I thought you said ADHD.
Oh, that too. Agency. Because when you're in that, down there in the hell, you feel like not only do you not have agency, but you've never had it. It's all been a lie. And of course, the word Satan means the accuser. And this is this energy level, the disintegrated energy level that accuses us of ever having been whole. Because that is their experience, the disintegrated.
That's their experience.
Fractal thought forms down there. So what I discovered is, no, I am one with agency. I am one with intention. And so then what I said is I stopped flight, because before I was flying, being propelled by a force that was stronger than me. But once I awoken to the level of, and then I'm so high at this point, right?
Yeah.
But I awoken to the level of the agenic self. I said, I desire to bring the light of wholeness. I desire to bring the light of Christ. Because for me, that word Christ means the singularity of manifested wholeness, of the universe.
Because the universe contains love, and Christ brought that
Yeah.
into. Okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of a code word given 2,000 years of human investment through ritual and belief of certain kind of wholeness. And gold, color gold is the color of wholeness made manifest. And so I became that light. First off, it was a light that was outside of me. It was as if I was carrying a torch, and I said, I desire to bring the light of Christ and wholeness here. And as soon as I did, there was a big bang, an explosion of golden luminosity coming from conscious wholeness, bringing the wholeness of Christ into the depths of hell in my own inner psyche. And so there, I started to bless everything. Instead of them cursing me, instead of saying you belong, I blessed them in the name of wholeness and love and light, and the fullness of it. But what happened is as soon as I occupied that energetic space, I was transported to a perspective that was higher than the hell realms. I could see the hell realms, but now I was entering into the spectrum of, I guess you'd call them the heaven realms, that would be separated qualitatively. If there was a spectrum of wholeness, it was qualitatively separated as oil is to water. Both liquids, both can coexist in a bottle, but left on their own, they do not mix. And so what I saw there is I was above in the heaven realms, and I saw heavenly beings who were all attentive to me, and I belonged in that. I was as them, golden palaces and whatnot, but all that wasn't interested to me. What I was interested in flying in the golden hue for a while because it was so comforting. The being bathed in hope, the energy of hope after the funk and grunge of despair. And then I looked down and I saw the hell realms and all of the demonics down there, angry, looking at me. And here's here's the weird thing. In that moment, I didn't feel pure bliss or joy. What I felt I felt what all the other beings around me felt, and that is the joy of wholeness simultaneously connected with the great sadness that those down there, in a way, have chosen to be miserable. In other words, there was no line separating hell from heaven. It's just that when one only desires disintegration and to increase that, it doesn't occur to self that you have agency to transcend that. And so,
because you're looking above you as that is the other, and
right,
from above you're looking down as
they're us.
this is us.
And please come up here. Come. You're welcome.
Come
You're welcome
experience
here.
this too.
Because this is yours.
Right.
And the suffering that I felt there was the kind of suffering that I feel even now, amongst third density beings, is that, including myself, of the pain doesn't have to be this way, but we are creating our own hells, which are, energetic, vibrational streams of consciousness located in the spectrum of the ethos of separation. The flow of separation, and it belongs there because in the infinite expanse of the one infinite creator, of course it does. But but to be in that from a standpoint of occupying that condition of soul is a choice, but it doesn't
It's
feel
a
like it.
perspective shift, right?
It is, but what is robbed of you is the fact that you have the capacity to shift.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of what I've just shared is a visionary experience, which I think is true. I think it's metaphysically true. I think it's archetypally true. I think it's mythologically true, but it's also psychologically true, because whenever I'm dealing with my clients, and in terms of being a counselor, and they, through our work and their courage, learn to live inside of a greater spaciousness and metanoia, expansion of heart mind by choosing different responses, more higher grade responses than the usual reactions, status quo reactions. When they are able to do that, then they themselves have moved from one frequency, maybe even the hellish realms, and beginning to touch inside of and fly inside of the realms of integration and wholeness. And so there's no difference. It's all of one reality, just termed, using different words. And so that's why I think like good counselors are offering the lore, LORE, the lore of the myths. Because all of what I've just described to you, I mean, you could have comic book or good fantasy novel or whatever, but, or, in Revelations or whatever, but it's all words describing a phenomenological, an experiential fact. And to drop a prior constricting worldview where I didn't feel free, I didn't know I had the freedom to not react, to drop that, let it go, not out of malice, but out of having discovered what my sacred yes is. When I said
to not react to what you were seeing and feeling and experiencing.
Yeah, but you have to articulate a sacred yes. And so for me, it was when I said, I desire to bring the wholeness of Christ here. You see, that's my sacred yes. You have to define that thing concretely. And when Whitehead calls this the subjective aim, when you declare to self and articulate a sacred yes for the highest and greatest good, then you operate. I mean, it's a kind of focusing apparatus that creates an orientation in metaphysics, time space, to where you can operate inside of that, inside of this vortex of wholeness.
Yeah.
And so that can happen in seemingly mundane ways through a conversation. It can happen through good counseling, and it can happen through ayahuasca. Yeah, it's really just awakening to the sense of self and realizing agency is there, but you have to ask, to what do you want? Well, I want to bring the light of wholeness here. Okay, and then things will happen. Okay, so anyways, that's 20. It's a lot of time. Thanks for listening. I hope that was
You're
interesting.
Thanking me? Are you thanking me?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening. Yeah. And ultimately, joy. And joy, by the way.
That's the name of the game somehow.
Well, joy, yes. Joy is that condition which is the biggest net possible, that inside of which we can fit happiness and sadness and anxiety and
God, I love that. I was meditating on joy last night. It's crazy how our conversations overlap. It's crazy how shit comes up like this. That's awesome. I love that.